This month, we've been talking about what to do and how to support our children when they are struggling, whether it's at school, outside of school, in sport, or with friends. And today, I will be speaking with my colleague, London Hall, who is a high school counselor. And she will be talking to us about how to support our child and the indicators that our child might be struggling beyond just their grades. I think we have a tendency as parents to use grades as an indicator that our child is struggling, but as she'll talk about today, she will let us know what other indicators we might look for should our child be struggling.
So mostly we're going to be looking for some sort of change in behavior. That may be change in appetite, energy level, eating patterns, change in grades is something that you might see, irritability. Those are things that are typical, but there's also things unique to your teen. So if we're looking at they have specific behaviors and you see a drastic change to something different, those could be warning signs that something's going on. I definitely also want to bring up the fact that a lot of times when we think about crisis, we always focus on the fight and the flight. And so we see disruptiveness as a sign and also withdrawing as a sign, but we always forget about fawn. As opposed to fighting or withdrawing into themselves during that time, they actually are more appeasing. So if you're seeing signs like that with your child, and they're more appeasing than usual, wanting to please friends and family and going out of their way to something that's not natural, that's also a sign as well that you might want to look out for. I think there's always the classic things. We have drugs and alcohol, social pressures, pressures to achieve. Those are always things that are present. But then with this generation, we're also throwing in social media. And something I feel like has been a topic, a frequent topic is FOMO, like fear of missing out. So in my generation, we had our limited options. So you had what you were going to do and there was not much more, but now you have access to so many things. And so that is really like a driving force for anxiety for a lot of teens, is trying to make those choices. And also depending on the student's personality, that can make a difference. So if the student's a minimizer, they'll probably say, oh, my choices are A and B and I'm good. But then if you have a maximizer, someone who's gonna want to explore everything, that can really wreak havoc and anxiety. So those are a lot of pressures that we don't think about, that we didn't have to deal with, that this new generation is dealing with. I'd say in addition to that, there's also the need for perfection, because we're always on camera, we're always viewing ourselves more than we would naturally do. So we have teens looking at themselves more often and feeling like they need to change their physical looks. They need to change the way that they are to match this profile for their online persona and things like that. I think as parents, it's important to kind of be vigilant of your child's social media usage and just doing things and working with them to build a sense of self-confidence and self-esteem. I think that's the best thing to battle that. Helping them explore who they are as a person, who they are within their family and their community, engaging in different activities outside of social media in those areas so that they can really find out who they are in absence of whatever those influences are. And that can help build self-esteem. And it might just be having those conversations, generating ideas of or helping them explore their personality, their strengths and weaknesses and things like that. Also, just from a school perspective, you can if you feel like your teen is struggling with self-esteem and self-confidence, most schools, especially at the high school level, have skill groups associated with self-esteem and various topics. So checking in with the school counselor to see what they offer, or with the community mental health associations, such as Boys and Girls Club, Or also local private practices offer groups as well for those things. If you know that you're struggling with low self-esteem, or that's something within your family that you guys struggle with, that's a good indicator, because what we struggle with, we generally pass down to our children unless we did something to intervene. So as a parent, if that's something that you're struggling with, don't hesitate to reach out to a marriage and family therapist to work with those patterns within your family so that everyone has healthy self-esteem, and you can also help your child build that self-esteem as well. And I would definitely say preparation. So we know that they're going to transition at some point. So giving them information and preparing them for the things that are to come. Talking about what friendships may look like on the high school level. So sometimes friend groups fall apart or friends move away. Having those sorts of conversations about, hey, this might happen. And if it does, opening up dialogue to just have those sorts of conversations. In addition to that, if it's academic rigor, preparing your student with certain study skills to make sure that they can face those challenges. A lot of students move into high school without study skills, and it really impacts their self-esteem if they're used to getting A's and B's and then they drop down to C's. And it's not that they're not smart, it's just a different type of learning. So just making sure maybe during the summertime that we're doing things to build them up academically as far as study skills and those soft skills are concerned. And then also, it sounds silly because they're moving into high school, but also social skills as well. It's a different set of social skills when you move into high school from middle school to elementary. So if you know that your child may be on the fringes of not really having social skills, but it's difficult, signing them up for a social skills group or working on social skills at home, those are all things that you can do to help your child transition. You would probably see students that have a harder time making friends. So if they're on the middle school level and it's just really difficult for them to make friends or keep friends, and they may have a few friends, but it's difficult for them to make friends and keep friends, that's an indication that they may be struggling with social skills. Students that are really shy or very self-conscious, those are things that may inhibit social situations on the high school level. Some of the differences between middle school and high school, I think in middle school, it's a smaller environment. There's a lot of forced interactions. And in high school, it goes away. You're changing every single class. You may have a group of friends and you may not ever see them throughout the day. So being able to initiate conversations and friendships and build those types of relationships in new and novel situations are some of the social skills that aren't actually having to be implemented much in middle school. Some of the concrete steps would just be opening up a space for a conversation between you and your teen, something that's empathetic and non-judgmental so that they feel like they can come to you and talk to you about what they're struggling with. And I would definitely say in those conversations, as your teen does reveal something that may be scary, like suicidal ideation, making sure as a parent that we are controlling our emotions and our responses to that, and just supporting your teen in that moment. The focus being support for your teen and what they're going through. Other steps would be watching those signs and then reaching out to mental health professionals if you feel like there's some sort of serious issue that requires therapy or intervention. If your teen is struggling with mental health issues, it's great to reach out to the school counselor. The school counselor is there to help your student in school with issues related to school, and they can also offer referrals for long-term therapy. It's important to remember that school counselors are not, while they work in the mental health field, they are not mental health professionals that diagnose and conduct or treat long-term mental health issues. So if you reach out to the school, make sure that we follow up with a professional such as LPC, a licensed professional counselor, social worker, marriage and family therapist. You can also reach out to your child's pediatrician, and they can give you a list of referrals to mental health facilities or mental health counselors. So services that we provide in the high school would be those skills groups that I talked about. So we're looking at when there is a minimal level of impairment, and whatever that impairment is also impacting grades or school life. That's when we, as school counselors, intervene. We can sign students up for skills groups. We can work with the student individually with check-ins, maybe monthly check-ins for very brief, limited amounts of time to see what's going on and then provide them with coping strategies. And really, when we're looking at coping strategies, we look at what we can do within the school. Although those things can be transferred outside of school, the focus of the school counselor is how to help a student achieve in school. So although this, we're providing mental health services, it's under the umbrella of classroom school instructional. And that's why it's very important to reach out to a mental health professional, because mental health crises and issues don't just stay in one environment. It spans across various settings. So we want to make sure that your child is getting the coping strategies that they need for every setting that they're in. So the steps that you would take to help your child outside of school would vary depending on the level of severity of their symptoms. So if we're looking at mild symptoms, maybe you're only seeing that in 1 or 2 settings, it's not really causing much impairment, maybe a little bit, then that would be, you would work with your school counselor if one of the settings would be school to get them assistance there, and then also contact a mental health professional for maybe infrequent monthly or biweekly sessions to help them. If it is moderate level, so maybe we're seeing the symptoms across all settings, and there's some impairment, but they're still able to function, then in an absence of severe suicidal or homicidal ideation, then I would reach out to your pediatrician, a mental health professional, to schedule services, and that would be more intensive, maybe weekly sessions. If we're looking at severe, that's, again, we're seeing impairment across all settings. There's severe homicidal and suicidal ideation. We are wanting to reach out to intensive outpatient programs or inpatient programs to make sure that your child is getting frequent care. If your child is expressing the desire and intent to commit suicide or harm someone else, we're definitely wanting to call 911 or take them to the nearest emergency room if that's possible. It's important to create a space in which your teen has an adult that they can confide in about their mental health that's non-judgmental.
I want to thank Ms. Hall for joining us and helping us better understand what we should look for if we believe our child might be struggling. And I also want to emphasize that every child is different and they all react differently to their unique circumstances. And my suggestion to parents is to take time to listen and to normalize your child's experience and validate their feelings so that your teen will feel like they are heard and understood by the adults in their lives. Thank you and have a great day.